Now, the Dead Sea Scrolls changed the view of the Septuagint, which was the Bible of the early church. As you all probably know, until the Vulgate was translated, the common Bible used in churches both East and West in early Christianity was the Septuagint, or the Old Greek translation of the Old Testament. So the Septuagint was the Bible of the early church. Now, the Septuagint, this Old Greek translation of the Old Testament portions, up until the discovery of the Qumran scrolls, the idea was that these Greek translators of the Old Testament were very either careless or they took a lot of liberties. Because frequently in the Old Testament, when you compare the Greek and the Hebrew, you see that the Greek is different in wording and sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little shorter. And while it's not so significant to affect dogma, the feeling was, the Greek translators back in 250 BC, they took a lot of liberties. They weren't very good. And so the early church was kind of foolish, to use this as a Bible. How silly of them. Well, the apostles and the New Testament writers used it as scripture. So the differences between the Septuagint and the Hebrew, like the Masoretic text, were used to disparage and discredit early Christianity. What happened with the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls? Well, with the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, we found Hebrew copies of books of the Old Testament that matched the Greek translation. And suddenly the light went on and folks realized, hey, those guys in 250 BC, they weren't taking liberties. They had a different edition of the Hebrew in front of them, and they were translating word for word. They were good translators. They were accurate. They were faithful. It's just that there were really variations in the different Hebrew editions of the Bible that were out there. So suddenly, the Septuagint is viewed in new light. Suddenly say, oh, you know what? This is a faithful, fairly accurate translation of one of several slightly different editions of biblical books in ancient times. Okay, so now the Septuagint is viewed with greater respect by scholars who work on the text of the Old Testament.